I got carried away, so I'll lose.
Somebody you know someone to take it, tell the truth.
Yeah.
Trust it.
If I can have everyone's attention here in the media center, we welcome Carl Edwards, race winner of the 20th annual Great Clips 300, driver of the number 60 Fastenal Ford. This is Carl's 35th victory in 236 NASCAR Nationwide Series races, his 6th victory of 2001, second victory here in 7 races at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Carl, talk a little bit about the race out there today. You were just in here a couple hours ago winning the pole position. Just talk a little bit about the race and your run out there today.
The car was spectacular. From the first lap on the racetrack, the car was great. Mike and Scott and all the guys did a really great job with it. It's amazing how these cars have progressed over the last year and a half. They're really fast. Trevor was fast, Ricky was fast, our car was great, and it's just a fun race. I love this racetrack. Whatever it is about this racetrack that makes it so much fun to drive, we need to figure out if we can engineer that into some other racetracks. And man, this is as good as it gets. So I'm excited for tomorrow. I'm really excited to go run 500 miles here.
Joining Carl up here is crew chief Mike Beam. Mike, talk a little bit about your strategy and how the race felt from up top the pit box.
Well, I thought we had a good strategy there, and then we got penalized with the air hose, and so we had to start at the rear, and then we was going to go to lap 131, and where we could go from there, and then some of those guys started pitting, but we stuck to our plan. Then the caution come out, and so it was nerve-wracking there for a while, but like Carl said, the car was great, the engine ran great, and just a lot of fun.
We also welcome to the table car owner Jack Roush. Jack, talk a little bit about what you saw out there tonight.
Well, I've got the opportunity to share this stage here, or to be subordinated by my real fast teammates. To be in the company of fast drivers and fast crew chiefs is a great honor for an owner like me. Mike's the unsung hero here. He's kind of bucked the organization some, and he's provided leadership for this nationwide team this year. And he had really fast cars here, and I know that he won an argument in the shop to get the car he wanted the way he wanted it here. And we won't talk about that but it's Mike has really done a nice job this year. He's carried it to him, and I'm real proud of Mike as I'm proud of Carl.
Okay, we'll open it up for questions for the 3 gentlemen up here at the table. Please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you, and as always, state your name and affiliation. Questions for the winning team? Bob? We got a question up here from Bob. If you can get a mic to him.
Bob Hawker, SceneDaily.com. Carl, can you just talk about the back and forth that it seemed you had with Kyle and Kevin and Ricky, and do you anticipate the same happening tomorrow, or will the 10 different cars race differently?
I think we're going to have just as good racing tomorrow. I think it's really the way the tire works with this track surface. You can slide the cars. You can go in the corner and make a big mistake and get really sideways, and you can save it. And I mean, that was some door-to-door hardcore racing out there. I don't know what it looked like, on the television or from the grandstands, but from the driver's seat, there was some really, really hard driving, and I hope we get to see that tomorrow. We don't race here enough. This place is a lot of fun. It's really neat to race on a track like that.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Jerry here, and then go back in the corner with Doug.
Carl, Jerry Jordan with the Examiner. You were adamant over the radio you needed to know about fuel, and he told you were 1 lap short. How did that play into it? Were you concerned with just being 1 lap short there?
I was concerned then because one time we were supposed to make it to the end and we were half a lap short. That one got us. Oh, yeah. I just give him a hard time because it's not a perfect science, Jack explained it to me. He's a mathematician, and there's a lot that goes into it. It's very difficult with this new fuel system to determine exactly how far you can make it, and that's why we came down that last time. And second to last time. We went ahead and came for fuel just to make sure. And yeah, for a driver, it's important to really know. And I don't want them to lie to me, because I know they wanted me to go out there and race really hard on the restart. So they didn't want to tell me that we were short. They wanted to tell me that we were short, 10 laps after the restart. But I was like, you got to be honest with me, man. You got to help me out here. So that was why I was.
But he's got to give us time to do it.
He said I got to give him time to calculate it. Well, anyway, so that was the deal there.
Okay, we'll take our question from Doug.
Doug Turnbull, WSB Radio. Kyle, at some point, I guess, or sorry, I said Kyle. I'm about to ask a question about Kyle. About midway or two-thirds through the race, there was a point where I think Kyle Busch kind of swept up in front of your nose there, and you sort of objected to it. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that almost was really ugly. I wasn't very happy about that. He apologized through his spotter, and then he raced me really clean after that. So, that was just hard racing. It was getting really aggressive out there. Everybody was racing really hard. And that was a case where he started coming up, and I almost hooked his right rear. It was all I could do to kind of get out of the way, and then he stopped, and I ran into his back bumper, and I wasn't very happy right then. But it was still early enough in the race; it didn't tear anything up. And since he apologized, I figured we'd have a good, clean race at the end. But fortunately, he wasn't able to catch us those last few laps.
Okay, we'll take some questions from the press box.
We have one. Go ahead. Wolfgang Monser from Germany, Rennsport Press Agency. I have a question to Mike Beam. Actually, two questions. Number one, when you were penalized with the air hose, I think it happened in lap 41 or lap 40, did you get under panic, or did you know already that the car was capable of winning and you can go back to the front? Because I was surprised just a couple of laps later, Carl was back among the top three. And question number two, did you change anything after qualifying as the car was set up?
Well, about the air hose, luckily there was only like 14 cars in the lead lap, so I knew that we had plenty of time to make it up, if things went our way. You just don't ever know. And but, when you get in the dirty air, you don't know how it's going to react. But luckily the car was pretty good in traffic, and, the lap times were really competitive there. So I just knew that if we kept our heads straight that we could get back to the front. And so that worked out well. And but as far as after qualifying, we usually do our normal deal, especially a place like this. We didn't run a lot in practice because, we ran really 30 laps on the tires, but we just took a shot at it there as far as we figured the racetrack was going to be loose at night, and it worked out. We did tighten it up after qualifying a little bit, and then we tightened it up during the race also.
Any more questions from the press box?
That's it from the press box. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll take our next question from Mike.
Mike Nutt from FrontStretch.com. Carl, I realize it was early in the race when you got the penalty, but you're back there in the back of the pack with cars that obviously weren't handling as well as yours was because you were running up front. How nerve-wracking is it when you're around cars that are not as in control as yours, and how much do you have to temper your anticipation to get to the front, knowing you got to give those guys a little bit more leeway to get around them?
Yeah, my car was really, really good, and it was still a handful to drive. And there were some guys back there that were having, their cars were not handling well. I thought everybody was doing a pretty good job for as tough as this racetrack can be. It kind of takes the wind out of your sails. You get a penalty like that. Most of them lately have been because I've been speeding on pit road. So, I thought when he said that we had to stop and go, I thought I'd sped again. I figured Mike would be throwing stuff at me when I stopped there in front of the box. But in a way, it's early. It was early enough in the race. We had a fast enough race car. I tried to just look at it as a challenge and something fun. And I think, sometimes everything happens for a reason. I thought that run trying to come through the field, I learned a little bit more about my car than I had running up front. So in the end, it may have helped me a little bit at the end. So I thought that was good.
Any additional questions? Okay, we got one from Bob right here. We can't hear. Can we get another mic to him, please?
How's that?
There you go.
All right, Jack, do you have any advice for Steve Turner, who had two of his cars get involved in a wreck together, including Sorensen, who is a championship contender. And can you also talk about, Stenhouse has a 13-point lead, how you feel about his chances of winning the championship?
Well, it's working backwards. This is the first race in the last 3 or maybe 4 that we've been able to pad or add some to our points lead. So I was watching it slip away, and I'm glad that we've stopped that. As far as the Turner organization is concerned, it's always a risk when you've got a championship contending car and another car that needs to race for its sponsor with great enthusiasm and with great effect. But, when the cars come out of the same shop, if they're done correctly, they'll have about the same amount of speed in them, and then it becomes a question of whether the driver and the crew chief have made the same decisions on the car, either good or bad, to keep them the same. But it's not a surprise that team cars run that close together. But my advice is, and it's just advice, is that the guys that are not in championship contention should consider the needs of the car that are in championship contention and make sure you give them plenty of room.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Steve right here.
Steve Richards with PRN. Jack, I was just wondering if you're back flying 100% now, and Carl, if you guys are flying together. I mean, who flies?
Carl hasn't had the wrist. He hasn't been brave enough to fly with me yet. But I've just had my medical for about 10 days, so people should leave me alone for a little while and just let me do my own thing. But I flew from Detroit to Charlotte the other day by myself in my Premier jet, and it was fun. It was the first time in a year I haven't had an argument with another pilot in the airplane.
Any additional questions? Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and congratulations on your win tonight. You're welcome. Thank you.